Buenas tardes. Inknush, Wanikshnush. My name is Francisco Javier Tzintzun. Some of you may know me as Francisco Tzintzun from Instagram. Others may call me Francisco Xavier Photography. My friends know me as Franny y otros Pancho. But my name is Francisco. It is an honor to be the valedictorian of the class of 2020 at White Swan High School. As I stand here, I want to be real. I want to be me, and I want to be transparent. We all have stories of our own that make us who we are. We experience positive and negative aspects that influence who we are and how we think. We live and learn, as my mother once said. Although everyone's lives are different, sometimes we share common fragments of our stories. So here's mine. I didn't know if I was going to make it until this point in my life. I didn't know if I was going to make it here today to say this speech or receive my diploma. I didn't know because life, as for many of us, challenged me greatly this year. Trial after trial, life tested me. It threw all the reasons I was never good enough at me, all the reasons I was never strong enough, I was never straight enough, I was never deserving enough, I was never enough. The day before my senior year started, I found myself in a broken home. My heart shattered in two. My life turned upside down, and unexpectedly, in 3 hours, I had to pack my things and move out of the four walls that I called home. Imagine that. My whole life, packed up in 3 hours, into 2 trash bags, and 1 hour after, I had to go to my first cheer practice. Now, being in cheer as a boy was already scary enough. It was scary because I was doing something different in a small community where I didn't know if I was going to be accepted or supported. I didn't know what to expect. A community in which they hadn't seen a boy cheerleader in years. I felt the pressure of possibly being judged or bullied like I was in elementary school. That trauma followed me. That pressure grew as my tongue was tied and I couldn't say why. My plans of having a normal first day with my friends the next day were thrown out the window. Traditions like senior sunrise, driving, or even going to school came into question. I pushed through and went to school the next morning. My first day of senior year. My first day at a school that I had gone to for 4 years. But this time, it felt different. It felt different not because it was my senior year or because it was my last time being a high school student, but because my life was tragic at home and I had to act like everything was normal at school. I felt alone and broken, but I covered it all with a kind smile. As I was playing the part, I looked around and I saw people reuniting with their best friends and wearing new outfits, and yet I was doing the same thing, but I didn't find myself happy. I was broken. As much as I wanted to blame the world for what was happening at the time and the feelings I felt inside, I smiled and spread positivity because it did not feel right for me to lash my anger and confusion on everyone around me for being happy. I went days, weeks, and even months before I told anyone what I was going through. For most, this is the first time that they hear me even talk about this or even knowing that I have problems of my own. For many, I am the cookie-cut version of what it is to be a straight-A student. To be unapologetically confident. To have their life together or to be perfect. But I reassure you, that is not the case. I eventually learned how to take care of myself, and the fears of not being accepted in my community were suddenly no longer fears. They weren't important, and they seemed like small hills compared to the mountain of adversity I faced before me. Each day, the only thing that I looked forward to was getting to see my friends and getting to go to cheer practice. I looked forward to applying to my dream schools and changing my future. I looked forward to, once again, being distracted from the tragedy that was my home life. I quickly got used to my new normal and learned to manage my time. I grew up quickly and kept pushing even though my legs were tired. My brain was tired and my heart felt heavy with sadness. I had been diagnosed with depression my sophomore year of high school, and I felt the symptoms grow stronger than ever. My life was pretty okay for a while, and then when I least expected it, life threw another obstacle at me. I experienced adversity one more time, and it was the hardest thing I had ever had to do. It was something that made me fall on my knees, with my head looking up to the sky, and asking why. Why was this all happening to me? My heart broke and grew closer to the point where it no longer felt a thing. Life had knocked me down one more time, and this time I wasn't sure I would get up. I asked the world, haven't I gone through enough? Why is this all happening to me? Why me? I've come from a broken home. I've been diagnosed with depression. I'm working so hard to create a better future to keep it all together. What else do I have to do? And then it hit me. It wasn't that life wanted me to suffer and be dreadful, but the things that were happening to me were happening for a reason. I got a flashback to a night where I was unhappy with my life and I visualized who I wanted to become. I asked the universe to help me become that person that changed the world, the person that inspired voices that were silenced to be heard. Someone who had courage, enough courage to start the first Gender Sexuality Alliance Club at White Swan High School. A teen that was willing to start the hard conversations to make a change in their community. A young man that had the courage to be a male cheerleader at a small school where it was unheard of to be openly different. The person that was brave enough to open up about their traumas to help others get through theirs. The person that was no longer scared to express themselves, but rather looked at fear in the face and walked hand in hand in it to get where they wanted to be. A person that I needed right now. I realized that through the pain, through the struggle, I was becoming who I had hoped I would become. It made me stronger and brought me closer to the person I wished to be all those nights ago. I once didn't understand what my purpose on this earth was or what it would ever be. I didn't understand who I was, but I stand here today as someone who understands what their purpose is and understands who they are. I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure we all have things that happen outside of school that are traumatizing or unideal. Things that we don't talk about or show other people. Things that we deem embarrassing or personal. That's valid. But I stand here today to open up about my personal life and hopefully inspire one person back home watching this to keep going. I'm here today to show you that you can go through hell and back and still make your way to the top. You can still follow your dreams and you can still make it out of the tunnel. I'm here to say that whatever happens, good or bad, it's your journey. Whatever is meant for you will be meant for you. Trust the process, because at the end of the day, the darkest tunnel you find yourself in might lead you to the brightest light that outshines what you may have ever envisioned for yourself. I stand here today as the valedictorian of the class of 2020. I stand here as someone who has trauma. I stand here today as a teen who had all the cards dealt against them and still managed to make it out with a scholarship to attend their dream school. I stand here as a human that wants to show you that your story matters. I grew up with people telling me that what I was doing was wrong for my future, that by following my heart, I had the slightest chance of actually having a future. I'm here today to prove that it is possible to write your own story and do what is right for you. As I wrote this, it hit me. It's really over. I really have to grow up from this point on. So many memories and important times in my life happened at White Swan High School. I experienced my first real crush and experienced my first heartbreak. Disclaimer, I'm still single. I experienced my first time feeling empowered by my community. I became friends with many and discovered the few that were meant to stick around. I found a big part of myself and discovered how to use my voice. It's sad that this tragedy happened this year. I'm sure it left some of us, myself including, asking the world, why us? We were supposed to experience what everyone before us experienced. I dreamt of one day looking off into a crowd in that gym behind me, walking across the stage that so many of us saw our older siblings, family, cousins, or even kids walk across. I dreamt of saying this very speech on that stage and sometime making eye contact with my family. Making eye contact with the two people that started this whole thing. COVID-19 might have taken away our prom, senior year, and our graduation, but what it will never be able to take away is our memories. Our memories we developed with our friends, our families, our teachers, and lastly with ourselves. We all have memories of playing in basketball games, cheering on the sidelines, jumping on the sidelines. We will all remember that every day Mr. Shepard stood by his door with his green smoothie and gave us all a fist bump before we entered his class. I can still hear the boom in my ears. We will all remember hearing Josh yelling, "It's game day!" everywhere he went. I hope we all remember when Christina twerked and did a split in front of the whole school during pep assemblies. Literally so brave. Or even Maria winning all of the dance battles for our class. As I mentioned, these memories, I'm sure you will remember your own. Remember that those memories will always be yours. Like I mentioned, it's really over. Now, it's not all over, just my time at White Swan High School. Our time. Life will continue to face us with trials, time after time, this time being one of them. We are literally living through a history chapter as a country. As people of color, we are living in a time of empowerment and struggle. I hope we all stand up, use our voice, and rise together for what is right. I hope we all grow up into contributing adults and fight together, not against each other. Because, at the end of the day, what do you want to tell your kids when they ask you about what happened in the year of 2020? Do you want to tell them that you stood up, or you stood on the sidelines? I dedicate this speech to my parents, my family, my friends, my community, and the class of 2020. I dedicate this speech to the kid or teen watching this at home who has been bullied in the past for being who they are. I dedicate this speech to my college advisors, Rocio and Nicole, for pushing me and supporting me. I dedicate this speech to my raza, la gente que conozco como solo trabajadora y fuerte, la gente que trabaja día y noche en las tormentas tremendas sin parar para una vida mejor, la gente que me creó y la cultura en que estoy orgulloso de ser parte. Estoy orgulloso. I'm proud to be who I am. I am proud to be a White Swan Cougar and a future UW Husky. I'm proud to be a first-generation Latino in America. I am proud to be a person of color. I am proud to officially and publicly come out as bisexual. I'm proud of my story and the legacy that I leave behind at White Swan High School. The legacy we are leaving behind as the class of 2020. I'm owning my power today as a Latinx male. I'm using my power to speak up. I challenge you to own your power today and speak up tomorrow. You all have a voice. You all have the power within you to use it. I challenge you to use that power. Own that power and be proud of who you are, because at the end of the day, only you can decide who you are and who you will become. Thank you.